Network Luncheon, and this morning we'll be focusing more on mental health. This morning is really quite of a somber morning. I don't know if it's the rain or anything else like that, so I'd just like to get us into the rhythm of things before we start. So what we'll do, whenever there's a speaker that's going to come up and speak, whenever there's someone who will present, we'll proceed, or rather we'll bring them onto stage through a clap that'll be in threes. So it'll go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then quickly 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, close it off for the one. I'll just demonstrate it quickly so that we all get to participate and do it as a group. Are we all together? Right, so this is how it'll go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're getting it. I'll do it and then you guys can follow the second round. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Can we all try it together now? Yes. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. My name is Amanda Didiza and I'll be your program director for this morning. So some of you guys may be asking what's up with all these luncheons, and I must declare from the onset that we do not have excess budget that we need to spend. So never mind the complimentary food, drinks and everything like that. But we have organizations, key individuals that can really become drivers of discussion. And at the end of the day, what we want to do at the other end of the spectrum is that we want to continue having these discussions so that at the end of the day, we not only raise awareness, but we unlock activation, and in our own spaces, we're able to continue doing the good work that we're doing. And it's just a good way for us to just be implored, to really understand what some of these key concepts are and what the discussions entail, so we can go back and invest in our own communities, in our own organizations, and even as strategic individuals, we could all come together in this particular cluster and network and be more impactful and fruitful in our own spaces. So again, welcome, and I hope this does become a session that really is fruitful. Before we get into the thing of things, I just want an indication. When you guys think of the word mental health, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Just focusing on the word and maybe its meaning. Just a few people who may indicate. Anyone? Any takers? Yes.
I think having a balance in your mind, even though there's other external things that are affecting you. That's my way.
Deep. Anyone else? Yeah.
I think the word mental maybe it's a inner feeling.
Okay. Last person to just contribute? Yes. Behavior. Short and sweet. We'll get one more person in the room. Anyone else? Any taker? Yes. Mental health. Thank you for that, and thank you to everyone for all their contributions. You want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
State of well-being.
State of well-being. Very important, very important. I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, but for me, when you focus on that first few, kind of letters in the word men, and then you get hell. But anyway, yeah, whatever the concept in your mind may be, whatever the thought may be, we've got a number of versed individuals from various backgrounds that will be contributing towards this particular topic. And throughout the program, I'd just like to open you guys to open yourselves up to receive the information that you receive, and also be a key participant in the particular engagement, so that we come out of here with new experiences, more knowledge, and at the end of the day, we're able, like I said, to make more of an impact in our own respective spaces. With that being said, we now officially kick off our program, and I'd like to introduce Uli Ndazali, who will just be doing the introductions for us. So can we give her our official round of applause? Let's go, man. Nah, you guys are failing. We don't do it like that. I think, let's get to our feet. You'll be able to lead it for us, please. Let's go for it, please.
1, 2, then go!
I think you lost that 10 even before it started. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amanda. Colleagues, Amanda just mentioned, my name is Linda Zali. Just to add on what my colleague just said, these luncheons are actually an extension of the Massive Fund Change Maker Network project that we have running in 45 schools here in the Nelson Mandela Bay. We are also running the same project nationally, and we targeting currently 4 provinces, that is your KZN, Gauteng, Limpopo, Northwest, and the Eastern Cape. So the idea here is just to do a bit of capacity building and also allow us, like Amanda just mentioned, an opportunity to continue with these conversations. And the main focus today is actually healthy lifestyle with a focus on mental health. So we have 3 speakers who will speak about how physical activity contributes towards a mental well-being, and also talk about how food contributes towards our mental state. And then we'll also have a psychologist that's gonna just speak briefly about mental health in general. Otherwise, we understand, colleagues, we also have wealth of experience and knowledge in the room. We'll allow our colleagues also to contribute. We'll have Q&A rounds during the course of this event, and then please feel free to also add comments and share your expertise. All right? Before we continue with the program, we're going to allow colleagues to just get to know one another at your respective tables. We don't have enough time. We started late due to, thank you, ESCOM. So just 2 to 3 minutes. Just introduce yourselves at your tables. I know you probably want to go into too much detail where you talk about your favorite music and your interest in whatnot. It's not that time of the day just yet. Just focus on your name and your organization, and that's just briefly about your position in your organization. All right? Otherwise, we have the rest of the day to get to know each other. All right? Your time will start now. Just your name and your organization to the people at your tables, please. Thank you. Okay, you have 1 more minute. 1 more minute to wrap up. All right. Okay. Did everyone get a chance to introduce themselves? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. All right, we're going to continue now with our program. One of the first things that we're going to do is a bit of some calming exercises, meditation with our colleague Siba. Siba, I'll call you onto the stage now. And then I'll also mention to Member Desi, get ready. After the meditation is your keynote speech. Thank you. Can we do the clap for Siba, please? Thank you. Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Babalu Ngiru. I am a life skills and physical education facilitator at my school. So what we're going to do today, we are going to do a body scanning meditation, right? So I'm going to ask you to please make sure that you have enough space. So our feet come to the back a little bit. Eyes closed. You're going to roll your shoulders back and now slowly start to focus on your breathing. In through your nose and out through your mouth. At your own pace, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Find your pace and release. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Let's try not to be focused. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Now what we'll do, still with our eyes closed, our shoulders are rolled back. We're going to pinch our feet as tightly as we can. 3, 2, 1. Squeeze. And release. Don't forget to breathe. Now we move up. We're going to squeeze our feet and our calves. 3, 2, 1. Squeeze. And release. Do not forget to breathe at your own pace. We're at the 10th month of the year. The stress has been taking its toll on your body. Now it's time to release. Next, we squeeze our feet, our calves, and our thighs. At 3, 2, 1. Squeeze. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Don't let it go. And release. 10th month of the year. 10th month of the year. How will you close off this year? Now we're going to squeeze our feet, our calves, our thighs, and our core. 3, 2, 1, and squeeze. As tight as you can. Think of everything that has been giving you pressure. Squeeze tight, 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 and release. With your arms just relaxed by your side. Let your arms relax by your side. Release your body. We're going to squeeze our feet, our calves, our thighs, and our hands. In 3, 2, 1, and squeeze. Your eyes are still closed. You are still breathing at your own pace. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Release. 10th month of the year. How will you close off this year? Now we are going to squeeze our feet, our calves, our thighs, our core, our hands and arms. 3, 2, 1, and squeeze. The only thing that's not squeezed is your neck and your face. Try to compartmentalize your body at this point and release. 10th month of the year. Release, release, release. Now we squeeze our feet, our thighs, our calves, our core, our hands and arms, and your face must squeeze as though you've just bitten into a abdomen. Squeeze, let's go. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. I want to see ugly faces right now. And release. Do not forget to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Again, I say, we are at the 10th month of the year. You know what you have been through this year. Your challenges personally, your challenges at work, your family life, but you are still here. You are present. You are living and not just existing. At the count of 3, you are going to affirm yourself with one word. You are, you fill in the dots. So I'll count you in. And I want to hear these words. 3, 2, 1. I am. And release. We're still breathing in through our nose and out through the mouth. Choose another word. 3, 2, 1. I am. And release. Believe in these words that you are saying. How will you close off this last 2 months of the year? 3, 2, 1. I am. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let's squeeze our whole body one more time, as tightly as we can, and release. Continue to breathe at your own pace. Continue to breathe at your own pace. Embrace this quiet time. Just continue to breathe. We are here, we've made it, and we'll continue. In through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through the mouth. Thank you very much. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Siba. Right, thank you so much, Siba. That was a beautiful session. Colleagues, are we relaxed? How are we feeling right now? Are we okay? I know we're all so busy during the day, we never get a moment to do these things. I now urge you to find that time, even if it's 5-10 minutes during the day, just calm yourself down, meditate a bit. All right? We're going to continue with our program. We're going to call now Babala Desi, who is from Desi Psychologist. She's going to speak about mental health in general. Over to you. Let's not forget the clap, colleagues. Thank you.
Good morning, Molweni. Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here in a full house on such a rainy morning. In the beginning, I was worried. I thought that people would be melting and not wanting to honor this day. It's fantastic to see a mix of young and old on this Friday morning. Okay, so my name is Babalwa Desi. I work at Desi Industrial Psychologist. I'm trained as an industrial psychologist. I was born in this very township. I'm very proud of that. I still have lots of household family homes here, so this place is very close to my heart. And I'm also a board member here, so I am So proud to be associated with the work that Nasifundi is doing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. It's fantastic. Okay, so I had a look at one of the editions that is featuring this topic. It has a brief definition there on page 15. Not a definition, but a bit of an overview explanation about mental health. That it's all about how we think, how we feel, how we behave and cope with normal stresses of life, how we relate to others and make choices. It includes the emotional, psychological, and social state of well-being of an individual. So, all of what that caption is saying is that mental health is part of any human life. It is part of the cocktail that makes up any human being. It is a combination, or it exists amongst the facets of holistic life that include your physical health, that include your makeup, that include everything that you are in your holistic space as a human being. While you have a physical being, an emotional being, a spiritual being, you also have, aspects of mental well-being that are part of who you are. So what does this mean? So it means it's inevitable that the same way that your body fails, your physiology fails, at some point in your life, you will have to also recognize that there are elements of mental health that you need to look after. The second thing I want to just clarify for everybody is that mental health exists on a continuum of the extreme left being a state of mental health that is at an optimum level, where everything is at its place, where things are relatively okay, where things are relatively in order, and then because of the external stimuli in the universe that influence triggers and responses to any human being, then you have levels of stress that you can cope with, that you can tolerate, that get to a point, depending on who you are, to a point in a level where you are now feeling strain, but you can still walk and journey, and then there are points of extreme distraction where you cannot cope. So it's on that continuum. The extreme right-hand side of the continuum is the state of disequilibrium, where you are unable to cope, where you are unable to withstand pressures of your home life, your personal life, or anything else that's happening in your world, even in the employment space, even in relationships with your loved ones, and so on. So inevitably, any person across the spectrum of the universe is bound to, at some point in their lives, deal with having to, constantly check in with your tank that fuels your mental health. Because you are trying to avoid to get into the extreme right continuum where there's a state of disequilibrium, which culminates into mental illness. The fact that you are human, the fact that you are a physical being, part of you integrates mental health. Therefore, the normal, trivialization of mental illness becomes a myth, becomes, a non-entity. If you contemplate what I'm trying to say, the fact that we have, normal conversations, colloquial, labeling of mental illness in the way that we do, then it's almost silly to walk on that path, because inevitably, whether you are 6-year-old or 9 years old or 17 or 47 or 75, at any point in your life, depending on where you are at, what you are dealing with, what you are going through, you are bound to, at some point, suffer. The same way that you suffer from a tummy bug, the same way that you suffer from tonsillitis. At some point, you are bound to maybe because of everything that goes on in your life and in terms of who you are and your makeup. So another thing that I want us to be mindful of around mental health is that it culminates from various sections of your life at different stages, at different times. You deal with different elements of things in the external environment, the circumstances of your birth, home life, the parents that brought you to the world, what they did, what they did not do, the vessel that you were carried through, the mother that carried you, and the circumstances of your birth, and the arrival into the world. Which households did you arrive at, and who was there and why? What were the people that were nurturing you, and what did they do, what did they not do? And then the journey of early childhood development is also critical in terms of making sure that all the building blocks are in place, all the cushioning elements that make up a human being that is vibrant and confident and sure of themselves and looks forward and is motivated to journey vibrantly and excitedly through life. And whether that happens or not, and the extent of that happening or not, and through the course of your life, into the space of who is there at all the stages of your life as an adolescent, and into the space of your adult, all of those things, the extent of them happening or not happening, and how well they happened, and how you responded to them, how they shaped who you are, determines whether or not you may not have smaller nyana skeletons following you into your adulthood, and stuff that you have to deal with, that you thought were under control, stuff that you thought, I dealt with them when I was 7 years old, I dealt with them when I was 14, when I was 17, now I'm 35, and I'm in a vibrant career, I'm fully in the zone, I'm bringing the game in my career, or I'm married, I've got a husband or a wife, and 3 kids, I'm together. But then a trigger comes along. It takes you back to 4 years old. And you do not understand. You do not piece the puzzle together. You do not connect the dots until maybe through fate you get somebody advising that maybe let's just go and check this out. Go to the doctor, and obviously all of these triggers will impose a physiological reaction as well. You will have a headache, you have a tummy bug, you'll have like this. You go to a general practitioner, and the general practitioner, does everything, but then the medication does not actually crack the problem. For 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, for 4 weeks, medication, I'm taking it diligently, what's happening? And then until the medical practitioner identifies the symptom and says, maybe consider a therapist, consider counseling. I think counseling is kind of taken as a kind of a soft landing, but as soon as you say therapist, your people begin to say, in fact, I'm fine. So I'm trying to get you to come to terms with the stigma and the myth, because it's a myth, guys, that we think that we walk through all the experiences of life and we are okay. With the levels of poverty in this country and the levels of destitution in the world, the levels of violence and aggression and toxicity, the fast pace of life, the fact that we are always, driven to achieve and achieve and achieve. And what happens if you don't achieve? What happens if you are not in that way inclined? What happens if your inborn levels of resilience just cannot take the measures of aggression and ububi that is, consuming us in the world? The levels of just terrible, events of life, events of the world, events of the country, events that happen in our own lives, in our backyards, events of abuse and destitution. And we think we are okay, we wear our lipstick and makeup, and we become kings and queens, and yet there are things that are anchoring your success, or things that are anchoring your potential. You have so much more potential to transcend beyond your wildest dreams, but there are these things that are pulling you back, and things that you can quickly deal with in a process of therapy, in a process of, appropriate treatment. Doesn't always have to be, medication that you take, but you maybe need to sit with somebody for a period. It might be short to medium, but other circumstances may warrant that it even gets to, long-term journeys of therapy to try and restore the person, to try and put the puzzle together, to try and close the gaps that may perhaps have been, missed in the early parts of life. Now, this topic is very close to my heart because I myself have first-hand experiences of my own small anyana skeletons. And then I have a 13-year-old daughter who I had to take through therapy for 3.5 years. From grade R right through to the end of grade 2, beginning of grade 3. And maybe because of my line of work, I was able to identify that there's a problem with my child. And when I went to speak to the teachers, I think when she was starting grade 3, middle of grade 3, the teacher was saying, no, I see the reports from the previous years, but I'm getting a different child. I don't see any of this. What did you do, Mrs. This? Where did you go? Because we have a lot of these children in the school. We don't know what to do with them, and the parents are overwhelmed. They don't know what to do. What did you? So I had to actually share my formula with them. And it was not my formula, but it's just that I'm a very vigilant parent and I'm a very self-aware individual. So, guys, mental health, physical health, emotional health, social well-being, everything in that realm begins with self-awareness. You need to know yourself very well. Take time out, spend time alone, and sit and have conversations with yourself. We are very scared of doing that as human beings, and I don't know if it's maybe a cultural thing. The African people are also, particularly, it's always about community and people around me, and I must have happiness, but there are times when you literally have to go into your own head and ask these conversations and have these difficult conversations. At a point where you can't find the answer, you need somebody that can assist you. I mean, I'm a trained psychologist. I had to deal with these things for myself. At the peak of my career, I had to go and ask myself questions. And at a point, I realized I can't answer these questions, or I'm not ready to face the answers that come. And I had to go for my own sessions of therapy. So we need to get to a stage where we begin to normalize mental health as part of who we are and be okay with it and be chilled about it. Sit right, sit okay. The same way that you have a mentor and a coach and a nail artist and a hairdresser and a pastor and fundisi, you need to have a counselor, you need to have a therapist. As on your speed dial, at your beck and call, just. Then depending on where you are at and where, what's going on in your life, circumstances of, whatever's cooking in your pot at that point, then okay, no, and this is not a problem for my fundisi, for my pastor, it's actually my therapist. It's not my friend, there's also friends in that catalog, because we also just have to go for coffee and cake with a friend, and laugh it off and talk about it and outlet, and then you feel better. So we need to come to terms with those little dynamics of our lives that anchor us, because as soon as you get into that shell, then your life almost takes a standstill. It is at a point where you can't function at your optimum, whether you are at school or you are in a career or you are at home with your family. Your social relationships take a bit of a destructive toll because you are having this disequilibrium in your mind, in your emotions, in your spirit, that puts a lock on all of the things that enable you to navigate and continue to navigate through life. So at a point, when you are a self-aware individual, then you begin to stop and say, okay, there's a problem. How do I resolve the problem? You begin to do your almost root cause analysis. What's happening with me? Where am I at? If you are unsure, just go just to get a sounding board and check in. periodically, stages of your life, you go through a period, you experience trauma, you lose your mother at 11 years old, you walk through it as if it didn't happen, but it hits you at 27. Or you get married and then you get shocked because your circle is much bigger, everybody wants a piece of you, and then you need to stop. What's happening? How am I dealing with this phase of my life? Later on, you have kids and you are, having to halt your career, or you don't get to realize some of the dreams that you were hoping for. Regret, resentment, all of those issues, they are in that continuum, in that cocktail. They are the extremes of, your schizophrenia, your psychosocial, psychiatric disorder, but they are the undercurrents, they're under the radar that we like to trivialize. Anxiety. We like to say, relax, just have a cup of coffee and you'll be fine. But then this is recurring. It doesn't seem to stop. It comes and goes. Maybe I need to get it checked out. So, guys, I think we need to also become voices of reason for the young and coming people that are, children, youth, to get them to just be okay with recognizing when there's a problem, and also for us to lose the language that we use around terminology and labeling of mental health. It's dangerous, it's killing our psyche, and it is actually severely destructive if you go onto the continuum of diversity literacy matters. You cannot trivialize it because it is a myth to think that it is not something that can hit you one day. Life trauma happens and you feel okay and you are in denial and you go on, but at a point it's going to get you to rock bottom and you don't know how to get out of that tunnel. The earlier we identify the triggers, the better, and it gets to be much more easier to address the issues as early as possible. When you get to the tunnel of deep zones of depression, it's very difficult to get you out of that tunnel. So I think with those words, let me stop. There's quite a lot of information that is on this booklet. There's even, I liked I think it's a self-help, self-report questionnaire that is on page 17 that can also, get you thinking. If you can complete that and get you thinking about where you are at and, how is your cocktail looking like? Are you at a state of optimum health holistically? Is your mental health in check? Or are there, snippets of it that need to be restored? Or even things that you just need a sounding board to check in with and look at and to come to terms with getting to the optimum stage of your functioning. Because it is very derailing unnecessarily, because there's a lot of help and a lot of resources out there to address these issues permanently. Thank you, Sis Linda. Nkosi.
Thank you very much, colleagues. That was really a lot of information. It was quite powerful from Baba Desi. And I think, sorry to just make you stand, we're just going to go into a quick Q&A now. So I just wanted her to be here next to me so that we're able to direct those who want to direct questions to her may do so accordingly. But also a Q&A is there for the purpose of also comments and contributions. Like I said, they're quite versed and skilled individuals here. So if there are any touch points that you guys would like to highlight, any things that you guys would like to share with the room, I think it would be a prudent opportunity for you guys to be able to do so collectively. But if anyone would like to direct a particular question, then they're more than welcome to do so. We just don't want the room to maybe focus back on where you'll be sitting. At least we can direct everything here on stage. I think we're also preparing in the meantime a presentation for Dr. Margot. But we're now opening up a round of questions. While you guys are triggering your thoughts and while you're thinking, I just want to share, there was a previous Spark edition that was written and that focused on relationship red flags and bullying. It might not be on your tables, but he had a contribution there and I just want to read it shortly. And I'll call it a forward for whatever it's worth, but it's on page 3. And she says relationships should be formed for enjoyment and emotional fulfillment of all those involved. When a relationship becomes unpleasant for one reason or another, both role players must be committed to the hard work to improve things. When one person derives enjoyment at the expense of another party in the relationship, an imbalance is observed. So I think even in our own personal lives, it's quite relevant when it comes to the issues of mental health. And naturally, there should be that reciprocal relationship where we both try and ensure that there's a balance. But there's also a personal duty in your own life to ensure that whenever there is an imbalance that occurs within yourself, you resolve within yourself and take up the options that were advised to be able to do so. Right, with that being said, colleagues, Q&A, everyone in any pressing issues, questions, or anything that they'd like to pose? We see a hand. We don't have a mic runner, so maybe just stand, introduce yourself, and pose your question. Just volume for the purpose of the room.
Okay, thank you. My name is Yanda. So I have a question, and thank you for the contribution as well. With your talk, and I realized that with mental health as well, there's a lot of individualization that comes with, dealing with your mental health. And I wanted to ask, how do we make it a community activity? Can one find healing within the community?
It's absolutely possible to do that, but I wanted to emphasize first, the fact that, self-awareness is a very big part of it, and it's a start of that healing. Then, as part of an integrated program of restoration, community definitely, like spaces like church organizations, schools, you could always, configure focus group and seminars and mini discussions for people's minds to be sensitized around the topic, for the themes of mental health to be normalized, for everybody to kind of have an opportunity to get to the same page around mental health and also community support. Definitely part of the healing involves the community that you have around you, which begins at home, and every other, social circles that you play in. And in the same token, you need to be cautioned to move away from spaces that will perpetuate circumstances of ill health that you may experience. Thank you.
Thank you. I've noted a hand at the back, so we'll take one. We'll move over to this table and we'll take another hand, and then we'll end off with you. We're still in the Q&A, so I've noted those 3 hands. Thanks.
Hi everyone. My name is Juan Usiluka. I'm a social worker. I work with boys mostly. So I wanted to know from your perspective, how can we train boys to deal with ego and power in a practical way so that they can be effective contributors to the community?
Thank you, Puti. Yeah, it's a very big issue, and I think to an extent that part of that thing contributes to some of the toxic masculinity that we observe in the environment. I think we all have a joint responsibility to set up deliberate forums in the communities to start these conversations and continue on a process, on a deliberate journey where we get them to unlearn. Remember, we are fighting stimuli in the external environment that perpetuates that, I must be natural, I must be aggressive, I must be this, and I must kill people and take things, by force from people. So we need to now get into their minds where we try, by all means, an integrated, interdisciplinary, like a formidable forum where we get them to unlearn. And this is also part of the reasons why we have such, skyrocketing levels of abuse and, gender dynamics in the system that push that narrative. So it's a journey and it's a challenge of insurmountable measures that we all need to, rally around and address. Thank you, Put.
Thank you very much for your excellent talk and so practical. I really appreciate Gerhard. I'm from the Southern African Development Research and Training Institute. We work a lot in the upper lift violence field with young people. And I want to maybe ask you if you can share a little bit. We see a lot of unhealthy interaction with social media among young people. And maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that, the danger of that unhealthy relationship with social media, how it actually affects your mental health, and can really drive you in what you mentioned as well, in that bringing a lot of trauma up or not being recognized, the kind of sense of belonging that young people reach, also desperately want, but often not get through social media. Maybe if you can elaborate on share your experience.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for that comment. Yeah, I think, these are some of the unintended consequences of technology and reach of people across, spectrums and continents. And part of it is a syndrome of background, parenting, home life that maybe did not nurture as well as it should have. And also another piece of it is the need, the desperate need of validation. We want, to maximize likes. We want to maximize, pop, when my picture is placed on that space and I'm like having my new hairdo, I must pop and people must like. And all of those are, fundamental gaps in the personal values that the person may not have garnered sufficient messaging that gets them to believe that they are worthy, that gets them to believe that they are complete, they are enough, they are where they should be, they are, purposeful, and they can, transcend beyond any circumstance that they find themselves in. It's also a measure of an escape from destitution as well, that you get to idolize and admire people that are supposedly looking like they've achieved, looking like they've transcended, they've overcome adversity and they have arrived, so to speak. But if you were to check the reality of many of those, people and events and things, half of them, if not more, are exactly, in similar circumstances. It's a bit of a theater performance, if you like. But now these are also some of the things that we need to get our children to be grounded, to understand. When they leave the house, you get them to believe wholeheartedly that, Jonga, I love you. Jonga, you are complete, you are wonderful, you have potential. And all these messages are critical in early developmental stages of children. And at a point when they don't get those messages, and somebody outside, in a social media, they chat to them, you are so wonderful. I mean, they are in another continent and they are here and they tell them lies that they begin to believe. But if you have the fundamental building blocks of home, and also with organizations like this one, where maybe that vessel is not available at home, but you've got non-profits like yours and spaces like Masifuna where they can be told, where those little gaps can be restored. I think we will have to go a long way to try and get them to have a real positive self-concept and not seek that elsewhere. Part of the reasons why we have this almost pandemic around the social media space is because we don't verbalize positivity as much as we should in the minds and the hearts of the young people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I do know for a fact that we do have two more questions that are there. I think Upo Tabanga also wanted to give him a question at the back, but colleagues, I have been instructed just to stick to script. Can you please hold those questions? Do you guys mind? And I must apologize. Just to hold those, maybe note them down so that at the end of the day, when we go to a further panel discussion, and I do promise you guys will be the first to be able to pose those questions, and then we can address them accordingly. But thank you so much for your contributions, and to anyone else that would have had a contribution or a comment, because these are real life questions that you guys are asking. They're not hypothetical in the event of this and that. They're real things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And to some of us, they actually occur in our individual lives. So just hold them, and maybe when we go into further discussions, you're more than welcome to comment and add value to our discussions. But with that, let's please just give another round of applause to our first keynote speaker. Thank you very much. I see you guys have gotten the hang of this. We're now going to bring up Dr. Margot, who will speak on something that I definitely do not stick to. And I think I'd have to leave the room or stay rather just to get more advice on it. But allow me to welcome Dr. Margot, who will be speaking about the effects of healthy nutrition and how that can affect our mental health. So please, let's put together a warm round of applause for Dr. Margot. Let's try it one more time, please. There we go, Dr. Margot.
Thank you very much. Thanks to Babalva for opening that whole discussion on mental health, because I think it's a really important topic that we need to take it to the level of nutrition as well to complete the picture. And what I'd like you to think about, just as a starting point, is how much energy do you have? How much energy do you sort of feel you have? Because I'm hearing a lot of people go, I'm so tired, you know, I don't have energy, I'm waking up tired, I'm like, you know, fatigue is a thing. Okay, so, because we're going to talk a lot about energy. That's something that I'm quite passionate about. So to open up this discussion on energy, and mental energy is something that is important as well. I want you to consider the reality of your brain and how important it is to really manage your brain's energy. Because if I'm going to do anything with focus and with some sense of determination, I need that energy, that drive, I need that motivation. And you know, sometimes you know you want to do something, you know you've got to do something, and you're just like, oh, I can't focus, I need another cup of coffee, I don't know what to do with myself, and you go and like distract yourself, and you're like, oh, I still got to do this. So energy in the brain, very important. And in your brain, I want you to consider this reality that you have not a small little engine, not a Volkswagen Beetle or something, you've got a Ferrari engine, and many of them in your brain. They are high maintenance things going on in this brain of ours. Just in terms of scale, you've got about somewhere between 86 and 100 million of, billion of these neurons, so brain cells. And then trillions of connections between the brain cells. So this all takes energy, it takes maintenance. It's like, again, high performance engine. And every connection that your brain cells make, just one little connection, has over 1,000 switches. So they say the human brain has got more electrical switches than all the routers on this planet. Okay, you know how many routers and Wi-Fi's on this planet? Got more stuff going on in your brain, people. So this is telling us we've got to pay attention. And per second, one neuron can be firing 17 trillion times. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. So your brain needs a huge amount of power. So these little Ferrari engines require lots of important things. And your brain power comes from something that you'll see and notice always on the boards downstairs and at the cafe, mitochondria. Who's heard about mitochondria? Who knows about mitochondria? Yes, yeah. So what are mitochondria? Anyone want to venture a little answer to that one? And why is the cafe downstairs called My Mito? It says, feed your mitochondria the stuff they deserve. Because your brain has more mitochondria than any other organ in your body. And that's what makes it this high-performance engine, because every one of those mitochondria are literally Ferrari engines. And for your brain cells or your neurons to work, they need those mitochondria to give them the energy so that they can do what they need to do. So without your mitochondria, if you had to kill all your mitochondria, you wouldn't be able to survive. You would slowly die, even if I fed you food. because your mitochondria can't work to turn that food into energy. So our mitochondria are very important. So mitochondria are these organs in our cells. Some of you did biology at school. You had to draw a picture of a cell and you had to label those things and you have this long word, mitochondria, and you thought, no man, can't they find an easier word to describe this stuff, really? But that's your mitochondria. Very, very important. And when our mitochondria start to break, we start to see symptoms that we're very familiar with. This is a horrible slide, full of information, but all I want you to look at is here. So it says here, mitochondrial damage, bioenergetic decline. What does that mean? It means the system is running out of energy. When you get that, you're noticing some diseases here. Hypertension, obesity, diabetes. Every chronic illness comes down to mitochondria breaking if we go down to the very, very starting level. You don't get diabetes from eating too much sugar. You get diabetes from your mitochondria breaking. So you can't actually use that sugar and it makes you sick. You know, Alzheimer's disease, dementia, old people, they can't remember, things like that. That's the ultimate result of no power, no energy in the brain. So there's no capacity for memory. The person can't remember these people in their lives, they can't remember what they did, they're using their wallet all the time. No brain power, no brain energy, no mitochondria. And that's why what we eat, because that becomes the fuel for our mitochondria, is so important. Because if I'm fueling my mitochondria correctly, I'm putting the right octane fuel in my Ferrari engines. Again, you've got a smart car, you're not going to put the wrong oil and the wrong petrol in. You're going to give it all this fancy, tender loving care. And that's what we need to do with our brains. So here, and Babal was talking about these psychiatric disorders. So when our mood goes down the drain, and we are trying to talk to our therapists and we're trying to do the things to balance our lives and we still, I just can't get on top of it. Maybe our brain power, our brain energy is not what it needs to be. And of course that can make you depressed. It can make you depressed when you run out of energy because you can't do what you want to do. And then it becomes a vicious cycle. So from things like our psychiatric disorders to Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, even children who have got these very difficult conditions like autism is actually very much linked to mitochondria that aren't working. And sometimes it's reversible, sometimes it's irreversible. So let's dispense with that slide. So it is about fuel, but it's also about engine maintenance. So I want to talk about nutrition from that perspective. If we just throw it down there and we say, what do we need for our brain? You've got to have protein because every chemical in your brain that allows you to do things. So there's these wonderful, what we call neurotransmitters. Neuro, meaning the nervous system, transmitters, they're telling the nervous system what to do. So your coordination of everything that's happening in your brain needs protein, it needs something called omega-3 fats. You've heard of omega-3s, you've seen adverts on some product in the shop that says rich in omega-3s. It's usually a lie. You get omega-3s from fish. Fish and from the meat of animals that have eaten in the field, not the animals that are being fed all sorts of rubbish because the farming has become industrial. So back in the villages, your family in the villages, they're slim and trim and they're all healthy and you're thinking, and you come to the city and everybody's like this. Very different because of how that food is made and produced. We need B vitamins, which we get from all these good things, meat, eggs, fish, etc. We need iron, we need vitamin D. I will come back to that when we come to our panel discussion. I want to put it out there because these are the 4 deficiencies that I as a doctor see. And it's telling me that people are not eating the God-made food. They are eating too much man-made food. And what I want to do today is explain to you exactly why that is a problem. Why it's a problem for me to choose Kellogg's cornflakes as opposed to choosing a bowl of oats or mealie pie. Why it's a problem, even future life, versus eating some eggs in the morning, or eating what your ancestors would have, or your granny would have eaten. She would have eaten some grain and maybe some sour milk. You know those things that your granny's always trying to get you to eat, and you're going like, "Ah, no man, let's just go and get that real food, the modern stuff." So that's what I'd like to talk about. And the bottom line is, I want you to hunt like a lion and eat like a shark. Well, what does that mean? Hunt like a lion. The lion doesn't go to the supermarket. He goes and looks for his food out there. And what does a shark eat? Lots of fish. So you can think about that. So this is a picture of a mitochondria. This is a picture of all the food that mitochondria enjoy. And it's a no-brainer. Meat, eggs, fish, vegetables. You guys, in fact, you know what you should eat. But what I'd like to share with you is why. Because let's ask the question, why mustn't you eat this over-processed food? Why shouldn't you eat it? I mean, it's food. It's being sold. The government's allowing it to be sold. And surely the government is looking and wanting to allow food that's going to kill you to be sold. Or would it? So why is processed food a problem? Anyone want to just give me a guess? Why is it a problem? Because everyone's telling you not to eat it. Even in your booklet there it says chips and sweets and this and that. Change it to fruits and nuts and natural things. So why is processed foods a problem? Nutrients, yeah, that's a good one. I like that. So maybe it's not got as much nutrients in. What else could it be? Chemicals, yes.
It's man-made.
Man-made. And what does man tend to do with things that they make? Profit, yes, my friend. That's the story. So we're in a bit of a quandary, because the thing that the food industry wants is to make food at a very cheap price and then to sell it at a very high price. So what we have to consider is, when you pay for food, think about the fact that you are actually paying for nutrients, and if you know there's no nutrients in this food, you're throwing your money down the drain. Buy nutrients. Don't think of it as a product. Ask yourself, what is in this thing? But let's consider a little bit about the food problem we have, and let me give you an idea why processed food is a real problem. So back in the day, we were hunter-gatherers. All of the cultures ancestrally were hunter-gatherers. We went and fetched our food from somewhere. We chased our food. We dug it out. We picked it. It was in season and it was local. And then we decided to start farming, and we grew our food. We tended our animals. It was still seasonal, it was still local. And then we got clever, and we got to the industrial revolution, where we learned we could process food. We could process food, we could make it last longer in a bottle, we could pickle it, we could pasteurize the milk. And then we got really clever. We started inventing food. In the technological age, we invent food. You're eating food that is being created solely in a factory. It's not even food. So we call this IPES, industrially produced edible substances. Industrially produced edible substances. And we should worry about this, because our mitochondria are designed for real food. Our brain, that is that high maintenance organ with all these little Ferrari engines, is built for the real thing, not what we would call edible substances. So these things are also called ultra-processed foods. They're made in the factory. They're not made from things that you find in a kitchen. And they're made by combining products from different countries even. So think of one of your favorite fast foods, like a burger patty from here or there. Let me not upset any big brands here. But let's be honest, the protein in that burger patty possibly comes from China. The starch comes from India. The flavoring comes from South America, and they mix it together. Could we really even consider that to be food? Not to mention all the things that go in those breakfast cereals with all the colors, etc., etc. So this is a problem. And most of the ingredients can't be made in a regular kitchen. Or the ingredients, you can find them in a regular kitchen. You couldn't make the stuff in a regular kitchen. So anyone try to make margarine in the kitchen? Epic fail. Because you've got this sunflower oil in a bottle, and you've got to turn it into a block. And it's like, how does that work? How does that work? So we've got these things that there's no synergy between the ingredients. When God makes a plant, all the nutrients know each other. There's a synergy. It's a family that's put together in that plant. The same with any food that is natural. There's a synergy between the ingredients. It's not like the one ingredient comes from Germany, the other one comes from China, and the other one comes from India. Okay, that's a problem. The second thing is that you get, and there was that answer, nutrients. Nutrients are lacking in our processed food. You get flavor without nutrients, because prior to 1950, if you wanted to make a tomato flavored chip, okay, so you want to buy some chips or some nachos, and you want tomato and chili flavor, you have to grind up tomatoes and you have to grind up chilies. Now you can just use a synthetic chemical that tastes like tomatoes and chilies. And in fact, I don't even have to put a lot of corn into the nachos anymore. I can put all sorts of rubbish in there because I'm flavoring it anyway. It doesn't have to taste like anything because I'm putting synthetic chemicals on it to make it taste amazing. And you notice, you can't stop eating those sweet chili Doritos, eh? You can't leave them. You gotta either go smash that packet. So this is our challenge. Flavor without nutrients and highly flavored, more than you used to. And that's why when you're a child, you want to give your child natural food, the child's like, no way, I'm not eating this stuff. I want that stuff. Because their palate has been trained and I'm kind of ruined by the unnatural stuff. So we get this flavor without nutrients. But this is the big one. The foods that are made in factories and that are ultra processed have not gone through nature's quality assurance program. Okay. So nature has ways of making food that ensures that that food is suited to your system. And it has a very special quality assurance program. And this is what that quality assurance program is. It's called photosynthesis. Okay, what does that mean? It means that everything you eat is connected to the sun. Because photosynthesis is about a plant showing up just because there's sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. So plants literally grow from that. And what makes a plant grow is that little thing in the plant called a chloroplast, which is the cousin of the mitochondria. And essentially what mitochondria do is that they do the reverse. Now I want to just highlight something. Taking sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water and turning it into a plant, and also the glucose, there's a lot of these H's floating around, and that's quite important. If a plant or anything that nature is making doesn't make it through photosynthesis, it ceases to exist. It can't exist. So what photosynthesis is doing is that it's doing a quality check. And it's all about these things, the H's. So forgive the science lesson, but it's critical to understand because you will start to appreciate why we're in such trouble. So mitochondria reverse the process. I eat the plants and I access all the nutrients in the plant and the glucose and the oxygen in the plant, and my body actually makes water, light, and carbon dioxide. So, just in case you don't know, 40% of the water in your body is made by your mitochondria in the process of it doing its job. And the reason why people are so dehydrated nowadays and are always thirsty, and everyone's saying drink more water, is because our mitochondria are struggling to make water because they're under stress. And in the panel discussion, I'll tell you why, because that's another story. So it's not just about the water you drink, it's about the water you make. And then the other thing your mitochondria make is light. How about that? Yeah, exactly. So the energy, we talk about the energy the mitochondria makes. It's actually light energy, it's photon energy. You are an amazing machine. Not so much biology and much more physics. And if you had the right equipment, we would find that you actually emitted a very low UV light. How do you think a mosquito knows you're in the room? Because you hear that mosquito there and you're like, oh, maybe you won't see me. And you're sitting on the side of the room and that thing finds you, hey? How do you know that mosquito knows you're there? Because the mosquito can see ultraviolet light. And so it follows your light. Because you know those insect catching lamps? What are they? They're UV lights. The insects go towards them. How does a bird know there's a worm under the ground? You watch birds, those hydidars eating, and that hydidars walking around, suddenly he picks out something, picks out a worm or an insect. How do you know what was there? Birds can see UV light. So, very interesting. So let's take this the next step. So, I've been obsessing about these H's. And H's come in various forms. Sorry. And what your mitochondria are doing is that they're using those H's that they get from the carbohydrate from all over the show. They're using them. And as much as we think that mitochondria are actually digesting the nutrients, at the last step where they make the energy, what they are doing is that they are pretty much using the basic chemistry, electrons and protons, and these hydrogen ions. That's what drives the last part of this engine. So let's look at this amazing engine. The last part of your mitochondria doing their job to make the incredible things that it makes is this structure here, complex 4 we call it. It's the real engine. And what we know about this thing is it's the smallest little motor that we know of inside your mitochondria. It actually is a little motor. It rotates little hydrogen atoms through it at a rate of about 3,000 per second. The mitochondria work like crazy. And if we do a ECG, you know when they put those things on someone's chest and the doctor reads that tracing? That's actually this little engine spinning in the mitochondria in your heart that give that electrical signal that the doctor picks up as your ECG. Okay? That's the spinning, it's the energy that this little thing actually gives off. And those hydrogen ions go spinning through that. Now hydrogen, to land the story, hydrogen comes in 3 isotopes. And this is the one we like to use, but this is the one that we find when food is removed from that process of photosynthesis. What happens is the hydrogen isotope that comes into play is one called deuterium. It's double the weight, it's bigger than this isotope, the protein, the one your mitochondria are designed for. And what happens? You've got a little rotating motor, and the deuterium's bigger. It goes into that motor and it jams the motor. So what is it like? It's like putting ball bearings into your Ferrari engine's tank. And it stops the mitochondria from working, just as it would stop an engine from working. So your ultra-processed foods haven't been subjected to this quality assurance program. Because photosynthesis, when nature makes food, it makes no deuterium or very little deuterium hydrogen. And it makes the one that our mitochondria need. When we make things where there's been no photosynthesis, we get hydrogen in the deuterium form, and it jams up our mitochondria. So when we eat fast food, when we eat something processed out of a bottle or a packet, and we cook it up and it's got 15 ingredients, your instant noodles, it's a deuterium bomb. And it breaks this little engine. Then you get mitochondrial chaos. And mitochondrial chaos, in medical terms, is inflammation. And you feel tired, and you feel lethargic, and your brain's not working because it's not getting its energy. So you're getting decreased energy production, and that can be the start of your mental health issues. Why? Because you've got no energy to think about your problems clearly. You've got no brain energy to go and seek help. You've got no brain energy to make changes. So we've got two sides to the story. We want to do the right thing for ourselves, but we don't have the energy to do it. So if we want to have proper mental health, we've got to fix both of these things. Talk to the right person, get the therapy, but also tune up this engine so we can actually benefit from that therapy. And when there's inflammation, you get all of these conditions. So that is the key thing to understand is processed food literally jams up your mitochondria and you don't make energy. Think about the food you're eating and ask yourself, has this substance seen the sun? Even if it's in a bottle, even if it's in a tin, has it seen the sun? Or has it been made into something that you can't recognize, but the label says? So how many times do you see on the label it says cup of soup and it's got pictures of vegetables and pictures of a cow, because it's beef. Now, I don't see any cow and vegetables in there, maybe a mushroom floating around, okay, or maybe a piece of carrot. So if the picture does not match what you open it up and look at, it's over-processed. Move along. So we need to think about getting back to the roots of what our mitochondria need. So I'm going to close it there, because there's lots more to come, but we'll talk more about this in the panel discussion. I hope I've made you much more interested in your mitochondria and much more likely to look at foods. Yes?
Please show us the slide what to eat.
The slide what to eat. Anything that grows under the sun, any animal that eats what grows under the sun. Full stop. So you think it's so hard. It's not hard. It's really simple. Because you want me to say you must eat a piece of steak and you must put these things around it, whatever. No, it's simple. Eat real food. But your problem is, you go into a supermarket and the real food is only on the external aisles. Vegetables, dairy, meat. Don't go in the middle of the supermarket because there's no real food there. Maybe it's in the beans, maybe your pilchards, maybe your sardines. That's what you eat. 80% of the time, eat real food. 20% of the time, I don't care, because it's going to make 20% of the difference. 80% of the time, is this connected to the sun? Or has it eaten something that is connected to the sun? That's all. Very simple. Keep it basic. Cool, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Margaret. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you for fueling our mitochondria. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right, guys?
It's hard, but it's not complicated.
Well, we'll definitely be throwing away all the Cocoa Pops, the Cheerios, the Fruit Loops. So much for being a cool dad. We're now going to just take 3 questions, guys, in the interest of time. And definitely, like I did say earlier, we will be going into a Q&A session. So, naturally, as we go into a Q&A, anyone who has a question to ask, I'm noting a hand from Lusanda, second hand, Tawang, third question from you. So we'll go in that order from all three questions. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Lusanda Osebi. I'm from the Motherwell Community and Environment. First of all, I'd like to just say thank you for the information sharing. It's my first time learning of mitochondria. And I think it is so important for us to understand such information. At the Hub, what we do is we're starting out our food garden.
Awesome.
And even in the process of gardening, we're trying to channel the circular approach, which is starting using permaculture ways of gardening, so that we can make sure that we're not just planting and creating gardens that just create food, but also they are natural and organic as possible. I think mine would be mostly just a comment. As Utada said, Hayana, our speaker, said, it makes us all not so cool, because I know at home we have, what do we have? We have noodles, instant noodles, we have those Kellogg's, and it's not often enough that we eat porridge made from lean meat. I want to ask the question of, we know this is how we grew up. This is how we grew up. We grew up with Umakulu having a garden at the back. We grew up with the people around the community actually planting their own food. But now how do we bring people back to Embo, which was the simpler ways of living? How do we start the conversation with people in making them understand the importance of actually going back to the simpler ways of living, and also bringing in these scientific terms in a way that they can understand the importance of us going through?
I think we just have to talk about it. And I think do not rely on the media solely as your source of information about health. Because unfortunately, healthcare has become about money, not about wellness. And so when something has to take the time to be labeled natural, I suggest you consider it to be unnatural. If you don't know it's natural already and it needs a label, then you're in trouble. But we need to talk and we need to ask questions. And we need to also look. If you look at the label of anything, you pick up a product, if it's got more than 3 or 4 ingredients, and there are things on that label you can't pronounce. If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. If you don't know what it is, I promise you your body doesn't know what it is either. So don't eat something you don't know. If I said to you, I'm going to sell you this car, and you've never heard of this brand of car, you're going to say, no, leave me alone, I'll buy a Volkswagen or a BMW. But we will eat anything. And it's designed, food is designed to trap us in that way. But thank you and well done for your initiative, that's awesome. So there was a question for that?
In the topic of energy, I watch a lot of anime. So they speak about energy and chakras and everything. So how is that information different from the information that you've just given us about energy?
Yeah. It's all the same energy because it's just a different way of talking about it, and it's just a different way of naming it. So different cultures have got a different language for that energy. So the Chinese will call it qi, the Indian and the Indian Middle Eastern cultures will call it chakras. Scientists call it protons. Your acupuncturist uses, these needles to facilitate that. So all the ancient cultures knew about this. The reality is that medicine knew about it as well. But medicine took a big shift around the 1940s and 50s, where it moved away from a natural way of doing things to using pills and medicines. Before that, medicine took into account that we were a vital system, a working synergistic system. That's why your grandparents probably would I'm not taking that medicine, I'm going to use my own herb, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And usually it worked. Everyone knew how to fix themselves. So we lost that. But in reality, all cultures know that. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So you go to an Ayurvedic doctor, and that doctor will give you a diet to increase your energy. I know it's working on your mitochondria. That doctor says it's going to balance your chakra or your nadus or all of those things. All good.
So how is it associated with fasting?
So when you fast, what is good about fasting is when you fast, you actually stress the mitochondria that are weak because they can't deal with not having that food coming all the time. And they get recycled. They get broken down and recycled for use in building new mitochondria. The strong mitochondria get stronger because fasting is a little bit of a challenge for them, and so they get a bit stronger. So fasting throughout the ages has been used as a strategy for improving not only your spiritual practice but your health practice as well. But scientifically, we know that fasting has an influence on mitochondria, just as exercise does the same thing. When you exercise vigorously, your mitochondria that are weak actually get broken down and recycled, and the strong ones get stronger because it's a stimulus and the body is ready to adapt.
Last question.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sulathan Tsengani. I have a question, ma'am. I believe that you said the reason why you always test is because your mitochondria is not making enough water. Why is it so? Because I do get thirsty at times, but I drink. Sometimes I drink the 2 liter, the whole bottle. Why is it not making enough water?
Because there might be something else that is influencing it and dehydrating the whole system. So this is something that maybe we'll keep for the panel discussion. But the blue light that we spend a huge amount of time under, the screens that we are absolutely addicted to, and the technology that is around us, the Wi-Fi, the this, that, is also part of the whole spectrum of light. And your mitochondria on your skin and in your eyes get damaged by that. And that damage translates into unhappy mitochondria that don't make enough of the right water inside your body. So I would like to spend a few moments talking about social media was on the agenda, but I would like to talk about our exposure to screens and light and the influence on the mitochondria. So we are dehydrated because we're living a 21st century technological lifestyle, and we are breaking some of the rules because we think we can spend 24 hours on the screen and that being under artificial lights is fine, and having artificial light at night and going to bed at 1 in the morning with the cell phone under your pillow or right here and living on the computer. There's consequences to that in terms of our mitochondria being very stressed out. So you've got mitochondria in your eyes, in your skin, and mitochondria are environmental sensors. They know what time of day it is, they know what season it is, they know what light they're under. And they were designed for sunlight. They're the cousins of the chloroplasts, the things that make plants grow. You are magically created. Don't fall for the dumbed down version that you've been fed through healthcare and through school. It's a much bigger picture. And I challenge you, go and dig into this. Go and Google mitochondria and light, mitochondria and blue light, and open your eyes. Save yourself. That's all I have to say. Thanks, guys.
Okay, clearly this is stuff. Thank you. We're moving quite actively, and in the event of allowing us to just let those mitochondria also take action, we're going to be introducing another physical activity by Usiba. So without further ado, Siba, mitochondria are away. Siba's big into West African, so you guys are really feeling.
So, because of space and maybe time, not going to really crazy things for us. So, we're going to do 3 movements, right? The first one is start sitting down. Again, wait, get your hands back. Okay, sit at the edge of the seat. shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Okay, we're gonna do another round of that. So all ready? Okay, roll your shoulders back, your feet. Get ready. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's come together. 2, yes. 3, nice. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And shake it out. Okay. Next one, which is my favorite. This one will need a little bit more space. We're gonna be sitting up and down. That's it. Chin. Again, make sure you're at the edge of your feet. Right? Okay, let's start from pieces. Up already? Okay, feet flat to the ground. No cross legs, feet flat to the ground. Again, roll your shoulders back. 3, 2, 1, just standing. 1. Down. 2. Yeah. 3. 4. Can you feel the range? 5. Squeeze those glutes. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Shake it out. Okay. Now we start from standing. Okay. Let's try 15 this time. Are we good set? Yes. 15 this time. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. 1. 2. 3. 4. Get nice and warm. 5. 6. 7. Push yourself. 8. 9. 10. All the typing. Let's go. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. Now we're gonna go to the back of our chairs. Let's basically change our chairs. But as we live, try to live in 2 steps or going from 1. Right? We're not going up and down, going 1, 2, then you go down. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one, 10, and we shake it out. Those steps. Okay, last round of these. Are we all ready? Yes. Okay, 3, 2, 1. 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go. Feet flat on the ground. Roll your shoulders back. We'll all look to the right. Hand on the left. Keep your nose off your mouth. Slowly to the other side. Into your nose. Out your mouth. Now we look at the ceiling. Your back is still straight. Don't forget to breathe. Head down, gently put the face down, not too hard. Very good. Now what we're going to do, we're going to make the number 4 our leg. So cross your leg, but make number 4. If you can. Shouldn't be painful, just a little bit uncovered. And move down as much as you can. Stretch out. Again, not painful, just uncomfortable. So if you can only do this, that's fine. If you can do this, that's fine. So your level, uncomfort, not pain. Right? out to the mouth. Can you feel the space, guys? Come up slowly. Now turn around, hold the back of your head, and look. So stretching our back upon the table. Stretching our back. And the other side. And come back to center, roll down twice, and I'm sorry to add this, but you stand up to the last I'm going too much. So, this is how the music is going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, throw away, right? So we're going to each side, right? So we're going feet, knees, hips, shoulders, but we're going to the tempo of the music. 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, move again. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, move. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. I like one more time. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you very much to Siba. It was absolutely wonderful. Really got us a bit loose there. Thank you so much. Our last keynote before we go into the panel discussion will come from none other than Dr. Mweni. So who will, as an extension to what Siba has done, also just be speaking on physical activity and naturally how that can also affect your mental health. So again, now that we're nice and loose and warm, let's give her a warm and loud round of applause. We all know what to do, right? Thank you.
Hey, good morning, right? Okay, afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luncheon. I'm originally from Inyande, Nelbote. I was brought up and I grew up in Tatu, which is like 20 minutes away from Inyande. So my profession, I'm a biokineticist, and I know this is a profession that most people don't know about. People know physiotherapy, people know a chiropractor, but what we do basically as biokineticists is that we do rehabilitation through exercise. So we work with general public, anyone without any condition. We work with people with diseases like your lifestyle conditions, such as diabetes, hypertension, such as people that are overweight or obese, or any other, excuse me, can I get my water, please? Any other condition that might affect a person's health. So we also work with people that may have other conditions, because we know that people that have, like Dr. Marco mentioned, that have, let's say, conditions such as arthritis. So it's a lot of pain. So people who have such conditions tend to affect their mental health, because your body is always sore, you can't do the things that you normally did before you got the condition. So that definitely affects the person's mental health. So what we do is that through physical activity or exercise, we try to get a person back to their normal way of life. So I also lecture at the Nelson Mandela University, so that's also what I'm doing, biokineticist and lecturer. So with today's keynote, I want to focus mostly on adolescent health, or adolescent physical activity, and how it affects your general health and mental health as well. So adolescence is a very critical period in life, where there's so many changes happening physiologically, psychologically, like your body changes, your mental awareness changes. So because there's so many changes that happen, for instance, this is where people start building relationships with their friends, forming bonds with family members, teachers at school, and so on and so forth. And also physiologically these things are changed. So your body changes. And when your body changes, certain things start happening. You gain weight, you lose weight, you gain more muscles and such things. So another thing that happens during this critical period is that it forms the basis of our long-term or lifelong attitudes of behavior towards our personal health and our well-being, which is why it's very important that whatever interventions or any activities we do at this age, we tend to carry them on to our adulthood and old age. So we know that people who, research has shown that people who are physically active when they're young, they are more likely to be active as adults. People who are overweight or are predisposed to cardiovascular diseases such as your heart conditions, diabetes, high blood pressure and such things, they are more likely to carry those into adulthood. So this is why it's important for us to start these interventions when we're still in our adolescent ages or in childhood. So, excuse me, in South Africa and globally, we are noticing that there's a trend or there's a shift in general health. So we know that mental health has also shifted a lot from what it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. So same applies to our physical health. So back in the day, people were quite active. From the type of work that they did, it was more physical work. People used to walk to go to work. People didn't have, there was not a lot of transportation where you had cars, like we do now. Urbanization also played a huge role in this trend that we're seeing now. So also we're noticing that because of this lack of movement or activity, children are starting to show conditions that we used to see in adulthood. So what's happening is that children and adolescents are becoming very inactive. So because they're inactive, then we get things such as starting to notice children from as young as 9, 10 years old, starting to present with things such as pre-hypertensive, or they have high blood pressure measurements that children back in the day never used to have. We have children that are presenting with pre-diabetic levels. So this means that if a grade 4 learner is already showing these symptoms, what's going to happen 10, 20 years from now? So this is why, as biokineticists and as researchers, we try to mitigate these things while children are still at school. But now, excuse me, the problem now, because if you look at primary school and high school, children and adolescents spend most of their time in school because they're at school from 8 until 2 or 3 o'clock. So back in the day, we had what was called phys ed or PT, which was compulsory. It was a standalone subject where at least 60 minutes or 45 minutes a day, you get your physical activity. You're active, you're running, you're getting energy. So what that helped with was that children were concentrating more in class. They were not predisposed to things like overweight and such conditions. But now our government made changes where now physical education was now part of life orientation or life skills in primary school. But with that, the teachers that are meant to teach this physical education or to get children to be active, they are not well equipped on what physical education is. What does an adequate or an appropriate physical education lesson look like? They also have very like problems such as having limited resources, financial resources. They don't have equipment. They don't have the facilities to carry out this physical education lessons. So we know with our schools that are divided into quintiles, right? So you have your quintile 1 to quintile 3, which are your non-fee-paying schools. So our previously disadvantaged schools or disadvantaged schools. And then we have our quintile 4 to quintile 5, which are our more affluent schools. So when you look at this divide, you find that children coming from the more affluent schools, they have the facilities, they have teachers, they have coaches, proper coaches that know what to do when it comes to coaching sport, know how to implement proper physical education or physical activity that then helps in the child's overall health. But now at the other spectrum, children coming from your quintile 1 to quintile 3 schools, they don't have the opportunity to be active at school. Now you try to look at, okay, so let's say if they don't get the time to be active at school, maybe when they go home, they'll get time to be active. But that's also a problem because now social media, technology, children would rather be sitting down watching TV, playing on their phones, or doing any sedentary activity. No children, like as much as we used to have a lot of sports programs or sports teams in the community, some communities still do have, but majority of communities have stopped having active. For instance, we'd have different communities competing against each other on weekends. And another important thing that physical activity or sport used to help with back in the day was discipline. If you are growing up, you know, you wake up, you go to school, you're busy during the school day. After school, you have practice. On the weekend, you know you're gonna wake up, you have a match to play. So it helps you to structure your day, be able to plan better. So it also helps with discipline, which is something that we're lacking with children in our current situation. So what I've done with my team at Nelson Mandela University, we had a research project where we were focusing on primary school children from all the disadvantaged communities in PE. So looking at your northern areas, which are predominantly colored areas, and our township areas, predominantly black areas. So what our research found, so we first did like baseline testing just to see what is the health of children in these communities. Because we know that healthcare services or clinics and hospitals, they're usually highly congested, or if they're not congested, they are not well resourced. So we're trying to make sure that the children get enough help, or they become healthy so that they do not need to seek out those services, because we know when they do seek out those services, chances are they will be given medicine. As you said, that doctors now, they don't prescribe, like you need to be active, you need to eat properly. They just give you a tablet to make you feel better. But we know that back in the day, how people used to maintain their health was eating properly and moving, being active. Because physical activity has so many beneficial effects, such as mitigating the conditions I mentioned, helping because it also gives your brain energy. You think clearly. If you're stressed, your body tenses up, your muscles are tensed. The minute you exercise, like we did with Siba earlier, your body starts to relax. So all the different benefits that you know being physically active has, it's almost like we forgot. Or it's not something that when we want to get out of a situation or trying to calm ourselves down, we don't think, let's actually sit down, just do some breathing exercises or do stretches or go for a walk. It doesn't have to be a run. You can go for a walk on a nice cool afternoon or maybe in the morning, just to get natural air coming in. You get to be in your head and think about your problem. So, and another problem that we find is that when people think about physical activity, they think, I need to go to a gym, I need to pay money, I need to lift weights, I need to do that. But physical activity does not need to be that. Of course, yes, that's also part of being physically active, but going for a walk, stretching, doing yoga, and you don't need to enroll in a yoga class where you have to pay money. You can literally go on YouTube, the same data internet you're going to use to go on Instagram, Facebook, the same one you can use to go on YouTube. Just say yoga stretches. They give you like 10-minute stretches that you can do, and it really, really benefits your body. So, as I said, because we found that children were now presenting with these diseases that were not there in the past. So we tested the children, and then we came up with an intervention where we were not only looking at improving their physical activity, we also looked at nutrition, which is a very, very important aspect, because when you look at health or well-being, it's got many domains. You've got your physical, you've got your mental, psychological, social. So we wanted to make sure that we build a well-rounded child, or we look at the learners holistically. So with our intervention, we tried to make it multifaceted so that it benefits them, not just in one aspect. As much as our focus is more on physical activity, but we've got other experts that could advise us on what else can we bring into the schools to make sure that the children are developing holistically. And then after we did the intervention, we did see a lot of positive results. And one of the things that we saw was with cognitive performance, or their academic performance at school. So we did this test where children had to pick, how do I explain the DP test? But they had to pick symbols, and then that test basically checked what is their concentration and selective attention. So we found that children, after we did our test, we did the intervention, children that were more physically active performed better on that cognitive test, which means they were able to, their selective attention was better than children that were inactive. We also found that children that were more active, they, and because we also had a questionnaire, how do you feel about school? How are you at home? Just like your psychosocial health. We found that children that were physically active had better results in their psychosocial health. So physical activity does not only look at helping with conditions and such things, it also helps just with your health-related quality of life. So how do you perceive your life? How do you feel like you're doing holistically? So with that said, I think I'm running out of time, but I'll be able to talk more about it, like what we did and what the next steps will be, because we've only looked at primary schools, but now we're looking at going into high schools, especially with the big mental health global concern that we have, where we know that physical activity definitely has a role to play in order to try like bring a decline or decrease to the current mental health problems we have in the country. So, thank you.
Come on, guys, we're talking about physical activity.
You guys can do better than that. One more time. Right, thank you very much. Again, colleagues, in the same fashion, we're going to go into a Q&A. So for those who may have questions, I already see an eager beaver over there. So for anyone who may have a question, comment, Charity, I know she's a bio, so maybe do things for free. We'll consider it. But hands, I'm seeing a hand at the back. If anyone has any question, okay, let's take that hand and then we'll take it from there.
Hi everyone, my name is Izzy, and thank you so much for that. That was very informative. My question for you is, at what extent can you say that physical health can be detrimental towards your health? Because I feel like in this era of social media, I'm always seeing people go to the gym, I'm always seeing people vibing, doing yoga and whatnot. And I think to some extent it is good, but can you get to a point where it becomes too much? There's also like this new trend of like veganism, and I mean it's okay if you want to do it, but if you start fainting because you're not like, you don't have enough nutrients, like how do you deal with that, and when do you know that now my physical health is becoming unhealthy for me?
Okay, thank you so much, Izzy, for your question. That is a very relevant question because we know with trends, things that we know are good can actually be bad for us, or too much of a good thing can be bad. So we have something we call addiction with anything. So there is something that is physical activity addiction, or being addicted to exercise, which then can become detrimental because you get cases where someone is going to the gym and then they start doing strenuous activity that they may be prone to injury. And now what tends to happen with people that have that are addicted to exercise, let's say you go to the gym or you run and then you get an injury. Naturally, when you get an injury, you're supposed to take a break, get recovery, do rehab, or whatever you do just to make sure that you recover. But now, when those people are told that they need to take a step back, it becomes a problem because their whole life is around exercise. Now, if I cannot exercise, then what do I do? What am I? Which then comes with being anxious, feeling depressed about it because now I can't do anything, I can't move. So it can be detrimental to your health if you do it too much or you get addicted to it. And the whole thing with social media is not bad. You can't say like it's all bad, but you know that it's got very, very negative things that come with it. Because I know during COVID, people that are active people, they had a problem because now you can find at home, small space, you can't do the things that you used to do. And then we saw a lot of people starting pages where they did home exercises, giving people tips on how to maintain your activity even though you're at home. So some of the exercises that Siba showed us, those are things that you can do in the comfort of your home. You don't have to go to a gym, you don't have to go outside. So it benefited people because they could say, okay, I can actually keep on moving, be active while I'm at home. But now you also have the trend I was talking about where people are doing it also to show off. So are those people really, like you say, they're vibing, they go to the gym majority of the time, taking pictures, taking videos. How much activity are you getting in an hour if you're spending majority of the time taking pictures and videos? So it can be a problem because how people will perceive it, like this person is doing this, when in actual fact, that is not their reality. So also, we're trying to get people to move away from thinking that being active, you have to go to a gym, because we know financially some gyms are quite expensive. So just going for a walk. And another beneficial thing when it comes to activities, doing it in a group setting, because it helps with motivation, exercise adherence, because if you know that someone is waiting for me, you have supposed to go for a walk, for a jog, you're more likely to do it. And some people drive when they're in a social setting, so there's a group where you know that these people are my support system. So there are beneficial effects to it, but it can be negative if it's done to an extreme.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Going once? Going twice?
Okay, I'm seeing a hand, Sianda.
I just want to ask, say you take the initiative to like do like home exercise.
No, but the volume.
If you like take the initiative to do
Sorry, if I got your question, you say if you have a sickness or any other condition, but you want to do home exercise, how can you ensure that you're doing it in the proper way?
Yeah.
So, so I'll give you one side of it and then another side. So, as biokineticists, we are the people that help with that, because when you come to a bio, we do a full evaluation of your fitness level, and then based on the results we get and what your goals or objectives are, we then draft a program. And then if you're someone, let's say you come, you say you have high blood pressure, or you have osteoarthritis, or any other condition you have, we will then ask you to get your doctor's approval before you, or you have a cardiac, like a heart disease. We need approval from the doctor, and also because we know what are the levels or the standards that you're supposed to exercise. So for instance, if you have a heart condition, you cannot exercise to 80% of your maximum capacity, because that's going to be too much strain for your heart. But now, the reality is that biokinetics is in the private sector. You won't get a bio in a public hospital like you do with physios and such things. So because we're only in the private sector, it's expensive. Not everyone has access to that. So one thing that you can do if you, let's say you cannot access a bio and you know you have a condition, but you want to exercise, I would then say go to your GP and then find out. But we also know that with healthcare professionals, some healthcare professionals don't know what the other healthcare professionals do. So I know a lot of people that have gone to a doctor, they saw a physio, and then the next step would be to refer to a bio, but that doesn't happen because people don't know, other healthcare professionals don't know about a bio. So I'm saying it with some reservations that you must go to your doctor, but I think if you don't have another option, then go to your doctor, say that you would like to start a home exercise program, but you're worried how will it affect the condition you have. And then hopefully the doctor will be able to tell you that, okay, you can maybe exercise to this capacity, don't exercise until you're out of breath. So what we do when we're trying to assess if you are exercising light, moderate, or you're being like vigorous, we say if you are jogging or walking and you can still talk to someone, then that's light. If you are walking or jogging and then you can see that you're slowly getting out of breath, then that's moderate. But if you're doing something vigorously, you can't hold a conversation, you're huffing and puffing, then that's vigorous. So maybe the doctor can say, you can do any activity as long as you don't get to a point where you cannot speak, you cannot hold a conversation with someone. So that's what I would recommend. But also we are trying, because we have the Bio Center at our South Campus at Nelson Mandela University, but we've opened a satellite Bio Center at Missionville campus. So with that one, it's the objective of that center is to be able to give our bio services to the communities within and around Missionville campus. So currently we only go there on a Wednesday, and then anyone can come, but we're trying for next year to at least be at the center 3 times a week. So anyone who wants to go can go, get their fitness evaluation, and then get a program. But obviously it's got financial implications where, since it's we don't get funding from government to do this, we need to make sure that we also get support, we get people coming there, but we also are able to, I don't want to say generate an income, but if we're able to show government that our services are needed in these communities, then we're hoping that there's going to be more buy-in and then it can be funded so that it can be services that are given for free to the communities in and around Missionville.
Last question, and at the back.
Is there a difference the work you do from a chiropractor practitioner?
Yes, so it is different. So what bios do, we focus on the final phase of rehab. So that's the one part we do. But we also help to manage and maintain your cardiovascular diseases. So if someone, let's say, is diabetic, they're obviously on medication. So they'll continue taking medication. But with exercise as well as eating the proper nutrition, there are people where they've actually reduced their dosage of their diabetic medication because of the benefits that they get from exercise and nutrition. So a chiropractor deals with more, I don't know, like in simple terms, or how people usually say it when they're making jokes between bios, physios, and chiropractors, is that they break bones. So we don't deal with the bones, we deal with making sure that the person becomes healthier through exercise, or through movement, or through activity.
Maybe you can sneak that one in privately. I just want us to also be conscious of time. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be taking a 10-minute break. So as you can see, people are already serving refreshments and light eats. So please feel free, relax. And more than importantly than not, let's give Dr. Ngweniso one last round of applause. Okay, let's do this. I want to give Profit a last chance at this camera. So maybe take us home, take us to lunch.
Everybody repeat after me. 1, 2, 3. Here we go.
There we go. Thank you so much. Guys.
It'll be alright. It'll be alright. It will be alright. Don't cry. It'll be waiting at the come, the problem follow me. Waiting at the see my friends and them pass me. I'm feeling lower, not progressing like this me. I'm feeling tired, can't smile no more, oh more. I say, waiting at the fall, I say to sit down. Waiting at the cry, them tears will never dry. Exhausted from this life I'm living, don't know what to do. Sometimes I hear people saying that it'll be all right. But it'll be all right. It will be all right. Don't stress, make me cry. It'll be all right. All right. Words for your redemption, words for your healing. I know you've heard them before, but please trust me this time. Just try to listen with your soul and not with your mind. 2 words for your breakthrough, 2 words that will remind you that He will never leave you nor forsake you tonight. Be anxious but in fervent prayer within. Hold on, yeah. Hold on. We need you, hold on. The world needs you, hold on. Oh, hold on. You need you, hold on. 'Cause ego day okay, 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 ego day. ladies and gentlemen, I am Sarah. I'm sure you noticed the posters in pink or yellow. I'll be having a show on the 29th of October featuring the choir, amazing choir from here, and Jolisa, that's actually on the other venue. So if you can, if you have the time, if you want to heal, if you want to have fun, please come through to the Mendi Art Center on the 29th of October 2023. The next song is titled Peace of Mind, and I chose the song because we're speaking about mental health today. And the funny story about the song is that, guys, I wanted to be married at 23, right? And now I'm years after that timing, you know. But then I figured out that, you know, your partner should be somebody that adds to the peace that you have. So that's how I wrote the song. The song is called Peace of Mind. Yeah, yeah. Wela. If you know anything about Wela, then you understand why we sing the song. And it's my favorite song. And I hope that you find a group so that you can sing together. See wherever you need to go, we're gonna go, right? Remember our clap, police. They our clap. Just give me our clap. Yes. Super, perfect. Thank you so much. Colleagues, we started a bit late today, so apologies for that. That's why you notice we serving lunch during the event, because we realized that we might finish slightly after 1. So again, apologies in advance for that. As a result, actually, we also lost one of our panelists, but it's okay. We have 2 of our panelists still here. So what we're going to do now is we'll just consolidate the information that they shared during their keynote speeches, and then just see how can we come up with best practices that we can perhaps utilize in our line of work. This is where I would also invite colleagues to basically comment, ask questions, and also basically share some of the things that you're doing in your respective organizations. I know just before we end the event, we have a time slot where we're going to showcase 2 organizations that are working in the field of healthy lifestyle and also mental health. All right? So I'm going to ask now kindly for our panel to please make your way to the stage. Thank you so much. Again, colleagues, I think we forgot to mention today our mixer is gone in for repairs. So as a result, we're using 1 mic, so just bear with us. All right? Thank you so much. Hopefully, this is long enough. Alright, colleagues, are we still okay? We're still good? Alright, like I said, we're going to utilize this opportunity.
Mic is not on, eh?
Oh, sorry. My voice is loud enough. I thought the mic was on all this time. Actually, perhaps I should just give you the mic and then I just continue to speak without it. Alright, like I said, we're going to utilize this time now to basically just consolidate the information shared in this space, and perhaps colleagues can take just 2 questions, which I have here, and also we open the floor for questions. All right? Okay. So I know this was touched on earlier on in your keynote speeches, but perhaps you could just, again, like I said, just consolidate everything. And you've mentioned a lot of theoretical knowledge. All right? And I guess the question we have is, how do we translate the theoretical knowledge that you've shared with us today into practical activities that we can run at schools? You know, this is an extension of the Masifune Changemaker Network. We're based at schools. We're working with in-school youth. How do we tweak what we do to speak to the information that you shared today? We'll start with you, Dr. Mo.
Thank you. Great, thank you very much. So, so the advice I really give to people is try and take control of one meal a day. Think about, let me make that meal one that is just real food. It's difficult to institute changes across the board. You possibly will fail and then you're going to be despondent. So plan one meal for each day of the week that you can control. And then when you get good at that, plan maybe 2 meals. So choose the one that's the easiest, and often that's breakfast, because you can think about planning it the night before. So if you want to have oats instead of Kellogg's, then soak the oats the night before. They'll be nice and soft. Throw some, whatever you like in your oats, cinnamon, spices, some fruit. Stick it in the fridge. You can warm it up in the morning. You can even eat it cold. Try different things. So 1 meal a day, try and control that. And don't look down on the food that our grandparents used to eat. So they liked organ meats. You know, your granny would cook chicken hearts and she'd cook liver, and there would be pilchards and sardines. Those are still very affordable options. The other thing that I want to just make a point of saying is that when you look at what you're buying, look at the price and look at what you're getting. And I often find that chicken breasts are much cheaper than some of the other things that we're spending our money on. So let me give you an example. 100 grams of nuts will cost you, let's say you want to do fancy nuts, cashews or something like that. It's going to cost you 44 Rand or 40 something Rand for a packet of nuts. A chicken breast for 100 grams is going to cost you 12 Rand. You're going to go and you want to buy a polony, and maybe that big polony is 36 Rand. Consider what's in there, and you say, well, that's a lot of meals, but the question is there a lot of nutrients? And see how many chicken breasts you can buy for 30 Rand or 36 Rand. You might find I can get 3 if I buy them singly or a small punnet, and start to just go for absolutely real things that you recognize that food. So when you pick up something, my final tip, when you pick up a processed item, whether it's a box or a packet, it's particularly boxes and packets that we have this problem. Look at what the first ingredient is. And if the first ingredient isn't what the front of the packet says, then make another choice, because you are being robbed. So when you buy beef and vegetable soup, turn the packet over. The first ingredient will be cornstarch or wheat flour. You're being robbed. You're paying for flour. Beef is right at the end. Choose another product that you're going to spend that money on. So we just want to be wise on that, but take control of at least one meal, and you're on your way. Every way in which you feed your mitochondria effectively will result in changes for you. So start with small steps.
Okay, so it's not a challenging question. So let's first look at children and adolescents, so going into the school setting. It's a challenge in the sense that any changes that we make, looking at the current status of what is happening in schools regarding activity, it needs the Department of Education to buy in. It needs the Department of Sport, Recreation and Arts and Culture to buy in. So there's positive news that we got, I think mid-September, where the current Minister of Sport, Recreation and Arts and Culture, after their school sport indaba that was held in Johannesburg, one of the final words that they want to bring sport to be part of the curriculum, school curriculum, and they also want to reinstate physical education to be a standalone subject like it used to be, so not embedded in life skills and life orientation. So that is very positive. That's good, which means that we are a step further than we were last year. However, we know political things take time. So it's not like next year this thing is going to be implemented, we're going to see our kids being active. It's going to take time because it still needs to be passed to the parliament, people, they need to sign on it. And then the second step would be capacitating teachers to be able to understand what is physical education, how do I teach it, how do I make sure that when children are out doing phys ed, they're going to be active for the duration of the period. Also, besides the training, do the schools have facilities? Do the schools have the equipment to carry out these activities? Do you have people that are well trained, for instance, with after-school sport that will teach them cricket, soccer, netball, hockey, whatever the case may be? So you can see that it's getting more challenging. And then on top of that, so from the department approving it to getting the teachers capacitated, to getting the funding to build the sporting facilities as well as equipment. But we know that in our schools, the lower quintiles, there's so many problems that are there. So would a school, from the little funding that they get from government, would they choose to build a soccer field or to fix their toilets? Or to fix the actual structure where the kids get educated in? So it's a big problem where there's so many challenges, but I think there needs to be a point where we know that yes, there's other problems, but we fix one problem at a time. So because we have this now new window where we know that we can bring in physical education back into the curriculum, we can bring sport back into the curriculum, I think we need to take that on and try make changes. So as I said, it's something that's going to take time. So currently what we're doing practically, besides the theory, now we tested the children. So I think Mo asked me now, so yes, you've tested the kids, but what's the end goal? Why are you find out that the kids are inactive, it's affecting their health. Then what now? So I think it's the second year now where our project, Gazabantu project, we collaborated with the Kolisi Foundation, with United Through Sport, and Ubuntu Pathways. So looking at Sia Kolisi's dream of trying to get his community of Sweden to be an active community, helping the cycle of poverty, getting children to be able to, after school, they can find avenues where they can improve their social setting. So he doesn't want a case where children have to be taken out of the community in order to access proper sport or to be able to play sport. He wants a situation where the kids that are in Zwide can play sport and get the same treatment or the same resources that children at Grey, at Westering are getting. So what we've done together with the different foundations and NGOs I've mentioned is that there's 6 schools in Zwide that we're working with. The first point that we've done is that there are coaches from United Through Sport that are stationed at each of these schools, trying to get the children to be active, so after school extramural activities. But now, sport and physical education are completely different. Because sport, before you can get sport, before you know how to play soccer, how to play cricket, how to play rugby, you need the basics or the foundations or the building blocks, which is what we get from physical education. So being able to kick a ball properly, throw properly, catch properly, being able to run, jump, skip, all those basic fundamental movements. The minute we get those, then we can get a well-rounded child who will be able to participate in a sport when they get to the higher grades in primary school and high school. So what we find is that the reason we don't have children that will come from our communities and they're able to play on a same level field as children that went to your upper quintile schools is because they lack the basic building blocks to be able to play the sport. Of course, there are ones that are naturally good, but they are not nurtured properly. So what we are doing is we're trying to, so through this collaboration, we're also equipping teachers because we know phys ed is important. So the teachers have been going through training where they are given the content knowledge on what to do when it comes to physical education. Why is it important? Because they don't have the motivation to teach it because they don't know the importance. They don't know what it looks like or what I should do with the children. So we're giving them training to capacitate them so that they also understand the pedagogical knowledge of why this is important. And then on top of that, with the Gazabantu project, we developed toolkits that, so from grade 1 to grade 7, that teachers can use. So it's a booklet that has activities, literally from term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4, that they can just open the book. There's an activity, it tells you what equipment to use. And when we were putting together this toolkit, we wanted to make sure that it doesn't require a lot of equipment or equipment that is expensive. So you can take paper, plastic, wrap it around, make a ball that the kids can use, because we know the reality is if you have a class of 40 to 50 learners, how are you going to get 50 soccer balls or even 20 soccer balls that can be used by that just one class? Now imagine from grade 1 till grade 7. So we also in the booklet give them ways in which they can try use material that they have to make equipment, so that children can play and they can have access to at least some of this equipment. It's not the proper equipment, but we want to get them moving, because if we're going to sit and wait for the government to do something, then we'll never get our kids active. So what we've been trying to do is to, and it's slow, because so far since we started about 10 years ago, we've reached about 34 primary schools in and around PE, and then with around 4,000 learners, and then we also look at teachers' health, which is another aspect, because we find that teachers are the ones that are having to do this high workload. They are stressed, they are burnt out, they are unhealthy themselves. So we decided to then look at teachers' health as well, trying to get them to be aware of their health, because we said awareness is important. So we had us, the biokineticists, looking at the physical side. We had dietitians going to the schools, giving them training. We also had a psychologist coming to the schools to just help. But the problem again, because it's a research project, it's funding based. The minute you don't have funding, the unfortunate part is that we cannot continue. But what we've been trying to do in order to ensure sustainability is to make sure that we equip the teachers so that in the event that we leave the school, they can still at least continue. But then changing people's behaviors is a lot. Like it takes a lot, because behavior change is not something that you can tell someone to do this now and they maintain it. So like you said, start small, just
controlling one meal. So we're starting small, where we're trying to focus on a small group of schools, and then hopefully we'll be able to expand. And then by the time the government buys in and they actually roll out physical education and sport, at least there'll be more schools that are amenable, or they can say, no, we've been doing this, so now with the government support, they can then carry on.
Yeah. Beautiful. Just before I continue, or you wanted to add something? Oh, definitely, we can do that.
Yeah, I just want to add. So you've got change makers in schools. You've got influencers. So what if? So let's just distinguish between physical activity and sport, because we've been talking a lot about sport here. But physical activity. What if 3 or 4 of the change makers just decide at break time, instead of sitting on their phones, they walk around the school perimeter, and that becomes the cool thing to do. And you create informal ways. We don't have to wait for people to teach us how to be active. Everyone knows how to walk. There's no permission that you have to get. So be the change person in your neighborhood. There might be somewhere where 5 or 6 of you can go walking. So even just walking, and particularly outside, you're getting so many benefits. But maybe that's something that the change makers could do. A little walking group, a walking club at the school. Just to start, I think is something to consider.
You heard that, change makers. Your next campaign, we're starting walking clubs, eh? I just actually had a follow-up question there, Dr. Ngwani. So you mentioned a toolkit, and I know colleagues in this space have access to schools. Is the toolkit open source? If yes, where can we get hold of that?
Okay, so yes, the toolkit is open source. So all our material can be downloaded from our website. So we have our Gazibantu website. I can leave it with you, then you can share it with everyone.
Okay.
So the minute you go on the website, you go on Gazi Kids, which is the kids part. You get all the lesson plans from grade 1 to grade 7 for the different aspects. You can just download, and then you get the toolkit yourself. Unfortunately, again, because of funding, we won't be able to print, or let's say if a school says that we're interested, we can't print and then take the books to them because that requires money. So that's why we've made it open access on our website, and someone who has internet can just download the toolkit and then they can use it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. All right, colleagues, remember you had questions earlier on, and you didn't get an opportunity to ask. We're going to allow you at least 10 minutes for those questions or comments. We spoke about social media earlier, and I would like to hear from you, colleagues. What are some of the negative effects of social media on our mental state, especially for young people, and how do we combat that? How do we change that?
Great. I think that's a really important question. So, in a lot of the health research, there's been, I think comments around the state of health in poorer communities and poverty being a determinant of health. But there's been some subsequent research, mostly coming out of the United States, that shows that you are not unhealthy because you are poor. You are unhealthy because you feel poor. Just think about this. So back in the day, I'd say a lot of people didn't come from a lot of wealth. You had your clothes from your brothers and sisters, you didn't have a lot of wealth, but you were quite happy. And everyone else was in the same boat. And we see lots of communities that don't have a lot, but they're extremely happy. So the biggest challenge with social media now is that we have this comparison culture. Everyone's affluent, everyone's happy, nobody's poor, and people start to feel not enough. And that is one of the biggest emotional stresses for people. I think that's one of the dangers of social media, is that people project a false image, and we're comparing ourselves to the wrong things. So that's the one problem that I have with that. The second one is that our social media comes in the form of screens. your screens, unless you have a filter or you have night shift or you have one of those things that adjust the brightness of your screen, is set to solar noon. In other words, to 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Your brain has got a clock inside of it that controls your 24-hour rhythm, your circadian rhythm. Looking at that screen all the time is constantly telling your brain that it's 12 noon. And it disrupts the circadian rhythm, and the blue light from the screen is actually causing damage, not only to the eyes, but also to the central hormonal regulators in the brain. And there's lots of fancy words for these. But our concern is that this excess screen time with the addicting social media, and you know that if you haven't watched that movie called The Social Contract, everything is designed to addict you. From the blue light of the screen, to the content, to the cookies that are tracing your activity. So you are a slave to your device, and it's ruining a lot of your own internal mechanisms, especially when it's at night, because now you have artificial light at night. So there was a fascinating, you mentioned your research about young people and having chronic illnesses detected in adolescence when we never saw them before, pre-diabetes, hypertension. There's a parallel area in medicine that looks at the consequences of screen time and how it changes metabolism. Partly because it keeps you indoors, but secondly because of the blue light, and then thirdly because of the other electronics and these lights that we're under all the time. If you're going to use social media, my advice to you is get outside in the sunshine if you're doing social media to combat that excessive blue light. Nature never has blue light by itself. No matter where the sun is, even at noon, there's red in that spectrum. So we have huge consequences, and there's epidemiological evidence that chronic disease didn't just start with a change in food. It started with a change in light. And so that is a new avenue of research. So I want to put it out there for you to think about, because it's quite important. Social media is designed to addict us and get us out of our natural rhythms for all sorts of benefits, economic benefits, etc. So that's my story.
Okay, so social media has a lot of negative implications for health, especially in growing children. So one thing that Mrs. Desi mentioned was that people search for likes. So if I were to put it into perspective, in a day, how many people do you meet on the street or at home, in class, whatever you're doing throughout, like your 24 hours in a day, that will come up to you and say, I like you? You don't get that a lot. Let's say maybe one person or whatever the case may be. But when it comes to social media, you post a picture, depending on the number of likes you get on that picture, it can either make your day or it can break your day. We've seen situations where someone will post a picture, and if it doesn't get enough likes, they remove the picture. So already you feel like just because people have not validated or they have not liked your picture, that this picture is not good enough, or you're not good enough, or you don't look good enough in that picture, which is a problem. So like Mrs. Dasi said, it starts with you, like what you grew up hearing at home, or in a case where someone did not grow up in an environment where they are told that they're enough, that you're beautiful, that you don't need outside validation. Then there's avenues like Masifunde, where you teach children and adolescents that they need to find that within themselves and not wait for someone to tell you that you are good, you are beautiful. Because the minute you don't get that, it then breaks you, or you go out searching for that. So social media also, another very bad thing about it is that it sells lifestyle. So I'm sure you've gotten like if you're on Instagram, random invites from people that are like Bitcoin or whatever, those things that where you make money. And then what happens is that you're going to see that you're going to be like, this person is living the life. they're wearing this label, they're driving this car, they go to these holiday destinations, and then you're like, how do they do it? And then you see that they maybe sell whatever product. And they're like, actually, let me inquire about this. And then you find that you might actually do the same thing, sell that product, but it won't give you the same lifestyle, because in some cases, that is what they want to show you. It doesn't mean that that is their life. Because no one will ever post a picture of themselves crying or unhappy, because that's not how you want people to perceive you. So it's got a lot of like trying to show people, you want people to perceive you a certain way, and then it's a problem, most especially in children that are still trying to find identity. They're still trying to find, like, where do I fit in life, in my space? So now imagine giving a 14-year-old all that content, all that information. They don't have the capacity yet to be able to say, you know what, yes, I'll take this from the content I'm consuming, but I won't take this because it doesn't align with me. With them, anything that comes to them, it makes sense. I will try this, I'll try that. So it's problematic, especially because it's in the hands of people that are still developing in a very critical point in their life, that now they're going to grow up having these ideas that I need to be like this in order to be accepted. I need to portray myself as this in order to make people think. Then that's where mental health comes in, because when people don't give you that validation or people don't perceive you that way, it becomes a problem. You start feeling that you're not good enough, you become depressed, or you don't even want to go outside because people are going to start talking behind your back. And then another big factor is cyberbullying, which is really, 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 really bad, because you find situations where something will happen in school, it will be discussed on the different platforms, and then the child doesn't want to go back to school because everyone is talking about them. Everyone has an opinion on your life, on your personal life. So we could talk all day about the negatives of social media.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, colleague. Colleagues, it's that time where you get an opportunity to ask your questions. Let me take this time again and apologize. I know it's well after 1 and our program is supposed to end at 1, so please bear with us. We're going to finish soon. Are there any questions, colleagues? Okay, there's one.
I think maybe the people that have questions will earlier on start to those are 2 questions.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know who they are. So we have a hand from this one table. Any other questions, colleagues? Okay, 2. All right. Okay, 3. All right, we'll take those 3 questions and then we get closing remarks from our panelists. All right, over to you.
You said we must take 1 meal a day. How will that be possible for someone who takes treatment? Because the person can't take treatment in his empty stomach. How will that be possible?
Apologies, I think perhaps I wasn't being clear. What I was saying is take charge of 1 meal in your day. You're still going to have your 3 meals, but you control one of those 3 meals. Because if you don't take charge of what am I going to eat consciously, what happens is that you'll eat anything. So if you're looking at your diet and you're thinking, I need to change something, change one of your 3 meals. Does that make sense? Okay. That's the thing to do. Start small, just change one of your 3 meals. And there's a quote that I always refer back to. It's by James Clear. It's in a book called Atomic Habits. And he says, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So put a system in place to do, I'm going to control that meal. And that's my meal for the week. That's the one I control. Make a system.
Beautiful. Thank you. There was a hand over at that table.
Oh, yeah. So you're wanting to understand stress. So You can also have a go in a moment. So stress is an adjustment in your whole physiology as a result of you sensing, rightly or wrongly, that there is some threat. So we don't get stressed for nothing. We either perceive something that is what we would call stressful or challenging to us, or we imagine that it's there. So you can get stressed about things that don't exist. Like what are people talking about, what are they saying about you on social media when there's nothing in front of you, you're just worrying about something. So worry, a change in deadline, not having something that you want, having to do something you don't want, that can all provoke stress. Stress inherently is not bad. It's an adaptive response to give you more energy to get out of that difficult situation, if it was a real situation. But if it's worry in your head, you can't really run away from it or fight with it because you get into a vicious cycle. So stress is it's a normal response to an abnormal situation. It is there for our survival, but it's meant to be short-lived. In other words, I need to fight or I need to run away, and then it should be over. It's not damaging in the short term, but in the long term, if I continue to stress about something and I'm not doing anything to manage that situation, I'm not doing anything to find a new strategy, I'm not seeking support, that chronic stress wears the system down. And so chronic stress is related to heart disease, high blood pressure, weak immunity. Literally, the stress hormones can be toxic to the brain when they are there in high levels for a long period of time. So stress unhinges our health at every level, from our digestion to our mood, to our heart health, our metabolic health. It can be a trigger for diabetes. So don't stress about the fact that you're stressing. Seek help. Seek help. Deal with it head on. Find support. Get resources. Short term, it's adaptive. Long term, it's maladaptive. Does that answer your question to some degree? Okay. You want to add anything?
Okay, I think you've touched on most things, but I think just to put it again into perspective, so stress, as much as it's something that's happening in your brain or mentally, it can have like physical effects where, like you said, if it's chronic, you might get things like heart disease or high blood pressure. And also, let's say if now you're stressing so much over a long period of time, I'm sure you've heard people saying that you're on nerves, or like how we say it in our black communities, your muscles literally tense up. You get people where they'll start having headaches because you're stressing so much, and it can even go like from lower down on your back, where your back starts tensing up, going down your shoulders, and then it will give you a headache. So stress is something that can ultimately have like your can come out physically. Then you can, like you said, find ways to get support, try deal with it head on if you can, but if you can't, then seek out help or go for a walk, go for a run. It won't fix it, but at least it's one way to try get ways to deal with the problem that you're facing.
All right, we'll take one more question and then we're going to wrap it up. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Musa Ramos from Youth Development Organization. We mainly focus on children's literacy and youth jobs, and through our work over the years, we have also realized the importance of physical education in children, and have actually been wanting to incorporate that because we realize that it does increase our brain capacity. So my question, I think, goes towards Dr. Munizu. What does an ideal phys ed session look like in the early childhood development space? So specifically like pre-grade R, and is there a minimum age where we should actually get more children to be active? And sorry, the last one. And what kind of training is needed for someone that would be facilitating that ideal session?
Okay. Thank you. Very important question, and you start as early as possible. So from the minute a child can walk, they're active. Like activity is part of our life. So I'll first give you the theory and then I'll put it into practical. So from when we are still in our mother's tummy, there's movements that we do. So we, like in a scan, you can find a fetus sucking their thumb. Then you have the stage where they start kicking, elbows, knees, that's movement. And then from when they are born, we have what we call reflexive movements. So those movements are not controlled by the higher brain powers, but they are involuntary. Like a child does not decide that they want to move. Their bodies move, number one, for nourishment. So if a newborn baby, you rub their cheek, the first thing that they'll do a sucking movement because they want to be breastfed. So another reason for these reflexive movements is for protection. So if you take a newborn and then you tilt them, so like there's different names to these reflexes. You tilt them, what they'll do is that they will reach their hands out trying to gain equilibrium, because now from a standing position, you're tilting them, so they'll reach their hands up and trying to bring themselves up. That is an involuntary movement. So that's where it starts, the reflexive. And then you have your rudimentary movements, so that is things like crawling, creeping, being able to reach for an object, grasp an object, release an object, because you know babies, they take something, they put it in their mouth. In that way, they're trying to explore their environment, trying to understand what is this, what does it feel like, what does it taste like. So they are very inquisitive beings. And then the next stage would be your fundamental movement skills. So those are the building blocks for sport, participation, physical activity, and lifelong movement. So that is where the importance starts. So those start from the age of 2. So at that stage in ECDs, children need to develop those fundamental movement skills, knowing how to walk, run, jump, crawl, skip, gallop, throw, catch, so all different things. And then we have things that we call perceptual motor skills, which are very important. So how do we perceive something? So let's say if you have a 2-year-old and then you're throwing a ball at them. So they have to first perceive, so this is a ball, it's red, it's coming towards me. They perceive using their eyes, the ball is big, and then their brain tries to analyze that, and then they'll do an action which is try to catch the ball. So our perception and our motor skills are interlinked. So what that means is that children first develop their perception together with their movement, or movement also. So movement helps in how how perception works, and perception also helps in movement. So in those early stages, it is very important to develop the children's perceptual skills. So their vision, hearing, smelling, touching, and tasting. So that goes hand in hand with them developing their fundamental movement skills. So the throwing, catching, and all of those. It's also important because it also helps them as they develop. So with literacy, numeracy, so studies have shown, not only now, like back in the day, that there's a direct correlation with children that learn those skills from a young age, and how it then improves their ability to write, their ability to read. So you have what we call fine motor skills. So your ability to be able to write a pen, that's a fine motor skill. Your ability to be able to button a shirt, your ability to be able to pick up a coin. So those are skills that children need to develop. So you find children that don't develop those skills properly at that age because they were not in an environment that was stimulating for them to be able to do those things. It then affects how they will be active throughout their lives. And then you have your gross motor skills, which is using your big muscles to do things like walking, catching, so on and so forth. So during ECD years, so pre-primary, it's very important for children to learn those skills. And now the problem is that you ask, like, what training would someone who wants to facilitate that, what training would they need? Ideally, when we had teacher colleges back in the day, if you were going to teach at that level, you got the proper training to be able to understand what does a child need to develop, because that's a very critical period. And then for the ones that are in primary school, they got training on how to deal with children at that age. But unfortunately, we don't have that. So what I would recommend, if you go to the schools and you're wanting someone to get proper training, I can maybe get you a number, because we do have another toolkit where we've specifically focused on ECDs. As much as we haven't gone to do it in South Africa, we've done it in Namibia, where we focus on ECDs because we know that that's where it starts. So if those movements, if those perceptual motor skills are not developed, then it affects them growing older.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful. Do you have anything to add to that, Tukema?
I think that's pretty clear. I think looking at the ECD kind of programs will incorporate that beautifully.
All right. Colleagues, thank you so much for this beautiful discussion. I mean, if we had time, we could go on and on and on. So thank you. Can we please give our panelists a round of applause? Oh, shame, you can tell. It's midday. The energy level is not really. Oh my God. All right, colleagues, we're going to skip a few things. I think we're almost done, Amanda. Eh? We're going to now give an opportunity to two organizations. Is PE Mental Health represented in this space? Anyone from PE Mental Health? Oh, Indlela, it's now called Indlela actually. All right, so basically what we're trying to do at our luncheons is we're trying to give organizations a platform, especially if they work on the topic that is covered. So today we're going to give United Through Sport just 3 to 5, just a bit of time, just to mention perhaps where you're based, what type of work are you doing, and I think Dr. Moniso mentioned a bit of schools in Sweden. We're going to call upon now Specs, Ahile, Losipo from UTS.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. As Linda said, I'm Spakes. That is my nickname, but that's generally what everyone calls me. I have been working with the organization United for Sport for a very long time, over a decade. So pretty much what we do is we are an organization that uses sports as a tool to develop the children and the youth that we work with holistically. I'm very glad because Dr. Gomes already touched on the things that we work in partnership with Bantu, so I don't have to go into detail. But just in a nutshell, a number of ways that we do this is obviously through physical activity. So we do in partnership with Bantu, we work with the foundation phase. So we try to encourage physical activity from the kids that are in the foundation phase. We actually do develop their gross motor skills. So she was talking about galloping, catching a ball, jumping, kicking. You know, if you're going to be catching a ball, your hands need to be out. If you're going to be kicking, one leg should be on. So just detail like that. Trying to teach that because, as she mentioned, unfortunately, physical education isn't a standalone subject in the schools. So we do have youth that are placed at the 6 schools in Sweden that she spoke about. That is with the Siapanaba program, which is a partnership with the Police Foundation. Other than that, we also do actual sport. So in primary schools across Nelson Mandela, so we go to the northern areas, we go to Ekasi, we go to various disadvantaged communities, where now we focus on more structured sport. So that's more for your grade 6s, grade 7s, and grade 5s. Where they've now gone through the stage of learning how to move, and now they actually want to play sports across the various main sports codes. And we also use that platform as a way of introducing gender-neutral sports. Because what we find is that normally in our communities, if you talk about netball, then it's only the girls that will identify with that. We talk about soccer, it's only the boys that will identify with that. So we also try to introduce maybe sports that are not very popular or that the kids haven't attached a certain gender to it. So we introduce tennis, hockey, basketball, where the kids are just excited to learn a new sport. And also something that we can also link, I think all our speakers have obviously spoken about linking physical well-being to your mental well-being. Just a practical example also of how we use sports. You might find a girl maybe in grade 4, grade 5, maybe within the classroom she's not very confident because maybe her academics, she's not very happy with how they are, her personality, maybe she's got aggression, and she just doesn't fit in, as people would say. Now you come and you're like, you know what, actually let's start rugby for girls. And you find this child identifies this is a platform actually where I can excel. She can use that sport. That's where she can channel her energy. That's where she can channel what was seen as being aggressive and And all of a sudden, she's excelling in the sports, she's feeling more confident, her self-esteem totally just blossoms, and find that now she actually identifies as someone that can be seen and she feels like she's seen. Her mental health, naturally, just because now she feels better about herself, she doesn't seek, she doesn't try to find affirmation somewhere else. So that's a practical example of how sports can also boost a child's ego, boost a child's mental wellness, and just general emotional well-being. So also what we do, working in partnership with Masimusane, we have literacy support for children within the foundation phase. The doctor also mentioned, fine motor skills, which we relate and correlate with gross motor skills. So you'll find that healthy mind, healthy body, everything kind of works together in order for us to develop these children holistically. So I just wanted to focus on those main points that are related to today's luncheon. Otherwise, we also have programs for our youth. We have programs that are not really related to what we're talking about today. But in a nutshell, it's us trying to develop the children and the youth holistically. And for today's purpose, the two that I wanted to speak about was the sports, the Learn to Move, which is our foundation phase program, and then obviously linking this to mental health and just general emotional well-being of the children. So we also mentioned how studies have been made, and we've also seen through our programs how the children actually are more excited to go to the schools when there are programs running at the school. So we found that children report that they are more excited to attend school now because we've also done research on reasons why kids actually drop out of school, reasons why girls don't want to go to school anymore. So we also have an after-school program that both has a safe space for boys only and a safe space for girls only. And we find that the topics that we cover there also just touch a lot on mental health and getting the kids to be more comfortable in their own bodies and also just feel safe in a space where they won't be judged. And for the boys particularly, we also want them to be advocates for girls and understand what it means, what gender equity is. So generally, it's a program that touches a lot on different programs, and I think what's important is that we collaborate with experts, so we don't try to do everything ourselves, but we try to see in the communities that we work with who are the experts in this field, so that we come in partnership and we're able to just try to develop the kids holistically. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you so much, Space. And last but not least, we have Patisanani Tokwan from Bundunan, just to share briefly, 2 minutes, what some of their work entails.
Hello everyone. My name is Patisanani Isbele Tokwana. Can you all hear me? Okay. So I come from Undibundunan, I just want to share 3 points with you guys. I will then focus at Ndingumtunam, which means I am also a person in the isiXhosa language. Firstly, we look at the link between mental health and art in the sense that we understand that traditional therapy does not work for everyone. Other people prefer to turn to music, other people turn to drawing, other people turn to painting just to express themselves, and even dancing. So we focus on that, and then we also focus on the link between mental health and language, in the sense that some people don't believe in depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, because a person will say, I don't have words in my language that speak to this phenomenon. Actually, our own former president, Gedla Ihlekisa Zuma, said that Africans cannot be stressed because it's a white man's disease, whereas it's not the case. It's not true. We do have words in our own languages. I-anxiety, liqhala, i-stress, luxinzelelo lwengqondo, i-depression, lunxunguphalo, i-bipolar, lunxunguphalo olundlelambini, growth in personality, ukukhula kwesimilo. It's high time that we actually acknowledge that we're also human, and then we can take it from there. Another thing that we do is we try to raise mental health awareness through events, in the sense that when you come to our event, We will fully equip you with the methods that you can actually adopt to try and better your mental health. Because we know the state that South Africa is in. It's hard to get even assistance when you go to a professional facility that offers these problems, solution to the problems that we are facing. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you very much for that. We're now at the tail end of our program. Thank you so much for your patience, for your participation, and just for being present and active in terms of your listening and engagement throughout the proceedings. Just quickly, just a few touch points in terms of announcements. In your Spark magazine that's in front of you on page 17, there is a wellness checkup. So please feel free to take those home with you so that you may be able to just kind of read through the material that's available there and just understand what some of the work that we're doing entails. Please feel free to also do that wellness checkup on page 17 just to give you more of an insight into the discussions this afternoon and this morning. Last but not least, we do have another luncheon. I think it's the last one for the year. It's going to be on the 24th of November, and that one will focus on GBV. So if there's any organization that touches those points or rather works on GBV matters, and you'd like to showcase some of the work that you do, please get in touch with us. I'm sure you'll get in touch with Andisiwe or Linda, and you'll be able to just share and get some airtime and space for you to be able to just inform us what you guys do. But please note down those dates. Last but not least, we do use and circulate the name tags just for the next event, so please feel free when you come out at the info table, just drop them there. But on behalf of the Masifunde's Changemaker Network, thank you so much for your attendance. We do understand that the weather conditions weren't permitting in the morning, but you guys felt it necessary to be part of this particular occasion. Thank you to every single one of you that came through. Learners, you guys are on holiday, but you came through in numbers. To different organizations, it's not a Masifunde-owned event. You know, we just create the platform, but it's up to each and every one of us to be able to showcase who we are, what we do, and at the end of the day, have one collective input into how best we can create and shape our communities. To our guests, thank you so much for your presence. Thank you for sharing high-level information that are not on a regular day is available and affordable to each and every one of us. So we really appreciate your contribution and just the space that we've been able to create this afternoon. With that being said, it's been a pleasure having you guys amongst us. To everyone, travel safe, enjoy your weekend, and last but not least, let's all take care of our mental health. Thank you.